Hi everyone, let's talk about Westside Gunn, 1/3 of Griselda, a up-and-coming and rising rap trio that has been making quite the headway thus far since dropping their debut album just late last year, consisting of Conway the Machine, or just simply known as Conway, as well as Benny the Butcher, who are all related, which is interesting that I just found that out now. But on his own, Westside Gunn has been making music for several years. All the way back until 2014, he dropped his debut album in 2016 and has been following up with a lot of mixtapes and a lot of projects. He's dropped singles, he's had collaborations on other projects. He's been all over the place up until this point. And when he surprise dropped this new album over here, I was pretty hopeful going into it, not only because I was very interested in Westside Gunn as a rapper, but because everyone on Twitter seemed to love it. Now, after listening to it for a couple times, kind of growing accustomed to it, I can safely say that this isn't really Westside Gunn turning over a new leaf, but it does show that he is being a little more adventurous. He's being very creative with his production choices, because for one, the production across this entire record is really good. You have a lot of these samples, there are also some pianos that are worked into there that could be incorporated into a sample, including the opening track, not the 400 million plus tax. No, I'm talking about No Vacancy, which introduces us to this album and the sound palette of most of this record. You have these somewhat glamorous piano keys that are underneath some sort of haze. You get some strings that accompany this, and Westside Gunn is doing his thing over this instrumental pretty well too, and at just a minute long, it really is one of the more interesting tracks on this record, and very much a great opener to this album as well. George Bondo incorporates the same kind of elements that we first heard on No Vacancy, but this time it's with the Griselda gang. And while I think this track has a lot going for it, I feel like the last moment of the song kneecaps this track from being a highlight, mainly because the last 40 seconds of the track is a lot of dead air. I feel like it could have been just cut off completely or just used a shorter sample, but this track as a whole isn't bad. I do like the verses that Conway, Benny, and Westside Gunn deliver. 327 is a posse cut featuring Joey Badass, Tyler the Creator, and Billy Esco, and the production very much reminds me of late 90s, early 2000s hip-hop, as do a lot of these songs on this record. The boom bap instrumental palette is very apparent through every track. This one being no exception, but also this track is 5 minutes long and it keeps me engaged from front to back. Every verse has something interesting to say, something interesting to talk about, and each artist delivers a very good, tight performance. Then the next 3 songs really pale in comparison to the rest of this record. French Toast and Allah Sent Me have pretty much the same problem, for me at least. The ending portion of the song, the sample just goes on for way too long, especially on Allah Sent Me, which goes over for well over a minute. This is just completely unnecessary. Eurostep could have been panned out a lot better than it actually was, and I just feel like this song is just extremely forgettable. Then we get $500 Ounces, which is, yes, a stellar moment in the track listing with Freddie Gibbs, Rock Marciano. It all comes together just in such a great way. And from this track all the way to track 12, there are some memorable moments on this record, and moments where Westside Gunn shines as a rapper. VERSACE features this gorgeous production behind it. It is just glamorous. And even at 2 minutes long, just a little over 2 minutes, it still shows everything about Westside Gunn that I really look for in a song. The flows are nice, and maybe sometimes it could be a little underwritten. I still find his wordplay to be interesting, and his ad-libs are very good. I don't think I've ever said that about a rapper's ad-libs, but they're great on this album. I can kind of say the same thing for SHAWN versus FLAIR, but this time incorporates maybe more of a 90s style hip-hop production. And Claiborne Kick is actually a moment on this record where there is a sample incorporated, but it's not feeling like filler. It happens at the beginning of this song and it kind of easily transitions into the track as a whole. And the production on Party with Pop Smoke is another moment on this record that I just absolutely enjoy. It's this loop sample that then continues on through the entire track, and then you have Westside Gunn rapping, but then you also have a featured artist, Keisha Plum, and the verse that she delivers on this song is very thought-provoking as well. It's probably one of the most thought-provoking verses on this entire record, detailing relationships with men that are not so good kind of men. Men with felonies, men with charges against them, men with evil within them, taking away the worst elements of these men and seeing the good within them. I feel like this moment would have been a great way to end the album, but then we get to the last track of the record, which isn't that bad up until the latter half of the song where you get this hand percussion that ruins the momentum of the track. And that's really it for this album. 13 tracks, 41 minutes. It doesn't take that long to listen to, and while there are some very enjoyable moments on this record, I felt that there were two main problems with this album. One, I felt like Westside Gunn did not shine as a rapper, as an artist on his own album, and that constantly his features upstaged him, like French Toast or even Allah Sent Me. The second reason why I just find this album to be a little disappointing is that there's just some times where a song has momentum and progression, but then it's just halted, hindered by the last leg of the song, which happens more often than not, like on the opening track to this record, the actual opening track, 400 million plus tax, which is just a sample of some auction. Now, they could play into the entire record as a whole, but I didn't personally feel that they did. They felt pretty inconsequential. Either Westside Gunn wanted to pan these songs out to longer lengths, or he didn't finish the songs entirely, so he kind of just added something else, or maybe the producers added something else. I'm not going to blame him entirely. But if he was to come through with a little more of a consistent effort and better focus next time around, I can totally see him make something that is worthwhile. And I still have a ways to go to actually fully appreciate the zany and idiosyncratic vocal deliveries that he has on all of these songs, but for what it is a fine rap album. One that I understand why people like so much, because it is definitely one of his best projects yet, but for me personally, it's a very strong B-. However, I am curious to know what are your thoughts and opinions on this album down below. Let me know what albums you want me to review next, and that is it. Leave a like, comment, share, do whatever you want. Let me know how I can improve future videos down below. Remember, this is only my opinion, because music is subjective.